Hey, everybody. Welcome to Cotman Crawford and the Jersey Guy podcast. I'm your host, Tom Ramage.
Louis Crawford.
And Kenny Cotman. How's everybody doing?
Everybody's doing great.
Excelente.
So we have a special guest on the show.
Woo-hoo.
We have Atara. She is on TikTok and Patreon under her name is Woo_Factor. So how are you doing today, Atara?
I'm doing great. I'm glad to join you guys.
Yes, thank you for being here.
Watched a couple of your podcasts, and the reason why I said yes is because I loved how you all were just sitting around normalizing, talking about stuff.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for listening. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. And I'm glad, at least that's what we try to do. Try to normalize everything, this way everybody feels comfortable listening. And, when we have guests on, that they feel comfortable talking.
Right. Everybody has their own point of view, so
and
it's interesting to hear each one of us.
So,
well, you succeeded.
Thanks. So we both follow each other on TikTok, and I was always interested in you talk about a lot of interesting stuff. You talk about aliens and some psychic predictions, and I'm always fascinated to hear you talk about all that stuff. So
we're always fascinated.
Yes, all of us. So I know we discussed that maybe you talk about some of like alien abduction stuff if you're interested in talking about that or.
Sure. Well, to be clear, I don't think I've ever been abducted. I haven't had that sense. I've had visitations, and the experiences that I've had have been interdimensional. So the first experience that I had was I was 4 years old, and one of those, let's say a hybrid. He was a lizard reptilian hybrid. He was huge, and I had absolutely no fear in my body about this. The experience happened multiple times as well. And I have an identical twin sister who was always asleep. So she was asleep and I was awake during these experiences. I'm not sure what else to say about it because I was so young at the time. What I remember was one of them standing over me and if you can imagine, it bringing its face right up to mine, and it felt like he was trying to see if I would be scared.
Yeah.
And I just wasn't. So there's that one.
Yeah.
Were there any others that you wanted to hear, or do you want to dive deeper on that one?
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. Whichever one you feel better. If you want to just kind of go through a few of them, or if you want to just elaborate on this particular one.
Yeah,
because that's the first time I've heard. Well, not the first time, but I don't hear too often about the lizard people. We hear most of the grays and stuff like that.
Right.
So that's different.
So I'd love to hear what you have to say about that.
Right. Well, yeah, and since we're in disclosure, we are hearing a lot of different narratives about the different beings that are out there and what their intentions are. With this guy, he was. I just how do I know he was a guy versus a female? That I don't even know how how I knew that, but I did. And he felt like I had been with him before. So he felt familiar to me. But at 4 years old, I was having a lot of different experiences. I also saw a dark energy that was around my father. It looked like nanotechnology, like the energy was alive around him as he was talking. And I call that, there's someone on TikTok that was getting into a conversation about this. But the energy, I call it the kind of the fabric of what we communicate through.
Yeah.
And at the age of 4, I was able to see it around my father. And so these beings, whether it's the Greys, because I've seen the Greys as well, but the Greys or the reptilians, all of my experiences, all of them have been positive. I haven't had a negative experience where I walked away saying they did something to me against my will.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And your sister never had any experiences with this?
My entire family has. My mother saw a spaceship when she was 10 years old. She lived in Hopkinsville. I think that was 1955. My father has had all kinds of anomalous experiences. My sister, she just wasn't awake for these things, but she has had anomalous experiences.
Okay.
As has my brother, and a number of cousins. Wow. So it runs pretty deep in my family.
Yeah, cousins too. Now, who was the first person to admit? Was it you, or did your dad or somebody say something and it was like, oh, me too, I saw that too?
Yeah, no, that would be me. I'm the person who's like, let me talk about anything and everything.
Awesome. And you said you were 4 on the first one, right?
The very first one, 4 years old. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that you're going to remember that forever. I mean, it's not going away. So were you talking about it right at that moment when it happened? You know, like when you saw it, did you, as what a child will do, would be like, hey, by the way, I just saw ABC, you know? Is that kind of what happened?
Yeah, I don't think so. My family life was hard. And so we just had other things to be talking about. I didn't start talking about it until I got outside my home. Because for whatever reason, these experiences really terrified other family members from their experience. And so their experiences meant that they didn't want to talk about it at all, like shut it down completely. And so I am the person in the family who does talk about this, and nobody talks to me now.
Oh, get out of here. That's crazy. See, that's wild, because you would figure that then, you know, they as long as there's somebody else that has had the experience, that they would be more open to speak on it. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, you would. I think that I watched a workshop a couple of years ago about anomalous experiences. And it was the first time I saw a couple of guys talk about their experiences, along with Whitley Strieber. I don't know if I'm saying his last name correctly. Mm-hmm. But it was the first time I listened to a couple of guys talk about their experiences. And this gentleman was terrified. Mm-hmm. I'm talking blood-curdling type of fear in his body. Mm-hmm. And sort of the way that after listening to Whitley talk about his experiences, his weren't all positive. He had experiences where he was, you know, I'm pretty sure that he was, he had experiences that made it feel like he was taken advantage of as a man. And so after hearing his experience, my position sort of changed on being able to understand other people's experiences. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Mine were great. Mine were fine. Mm-hmm. And I developed this habit of just going around and just talking about them positively and coming across my family and other people. There is real fear there because they don't know how to narrate around it. They don't know how to narrate around the experience yet. Mm-hmm. Or they don't have enough information.
Yeah, they don't want to talk about the elephant in the room.
Right.
Which is what? Tell me.
They don't want to talk about the elephant in the room. So
right.
That
you
everybody's had that
you don't
same
have
experience.
a problem talking about that they don't want to do it.
You're like, yo, listen, we need to talk about this because, you know, this was an experience and, you know, you felt some type of way and they didn't. So that then, you know, it's that fear factor, though, because, you know, you accepted it, I guess we'll say in a sense, you know, you were like, okay, cool. Let's talk about this, see what it is. They were so scared about what was going on with them because they couldn't explain it. They couldn't probably verbalize it. So that then, you know, so that then that's why probably for them. But, you know, and you hear more about the negative, if you will, that people have with the aliens or their out of body experiences or their crossing dimensions and all that other stuff. It's rare that you hear anybody says, oh my God, it was the greatest thing ever. I was so enlightened. I feel at peace. People are so scared about the unknown because they feel like they couldn't control it, that they take it to the negative. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. It makes sense that when your psyche touches something that you don't understand, that you will narrate it negatively.
Yeah. You think a lot sorry. You think a lot of it has to do with like ontological shock, like, you know, where like you just like your whole worldview's changed and now like you just can't handle it, you know?
Well, I saw a thing. Excuse me, real quick. I saw they were just talking about stuff like that last week on one of the Discovery channels.
Yeah.
And this, you know, this is exactly what you were just saying.
Yeah.
So they were, you know, it was like the guy changed from being one kind of person, and then he became a very spiritual person because of the experience he had. And it wasn't a great experience; it was a negative one. But because of the factor, I guess, is that the right word, or you know, it just the fact that it was so overwhelming that compelled him to become more spiritual and go a different direction. Like it just changed course.
Right.
But let's make a right here.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sorry. So go ahead.
So yeah, you think it's like ontological shock, or
Explain, define that word for me.
Well, ontological shock is like where like something that like changes your whole worldview. Like if you were to like, you know, like walk into a room and like in the Matrix, like the gravity reversed, like, you know what I mean? Like, and you were, you know, like something that would just change your, like, doesn't like apply to your worldview. It just completely changes your, like
your equilibrium. Everything is off.
Like your whole, it's like your reality, like changes your entire reality.
I get what you're saying. Yeah,
and some
I get what
people
you're saying.
And shock is like, you know, they can't accept it. Like they don't know what to do. And you know what I mean?
I must have fallen or hit my head or something.
Yeah. And I would say that there are people who just directly in my own experience, when I have given them, have had premonition in their presence.
Yeah.
That has happened. That type of shock that you're talking about, where they have said directly to me, Atara, when you talk like this, I feel completely psychologically destabilized.
Yeah.
And those individuals I don't interact with them anymore because the nature of the information that comes through me does destabilize people.
Yeah.
I'm very used to it. I've been awake since I was 4, so this is so normal for me.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Now, when you do or have your premonitions with people, can you tell if they had alien dealings or dealings with any aliens, abductions, them, like say in a dream, or their moment of super spirituality that they've crossed dimensions? Like, can you tell that when you talk to them?
That is a great question.
Oh my God!
Yeah, let's see what she has to say.
Today, I have not sat in the presence of anyone and said, "Oh, you've had an alien experience." What I normally do, I don't know that that's going to be that's my talent. What I typically do is pick up on whether or not someone is intuitive, their talent here on Earth. I have never had I'm trying to think. I don't think I've ever had a read with someone where they've had an alien experience. Ever.
Wow.
That's wild.
Not ever.
Now, what about them in their spiritual? What, like how when they don't know that they are, I guess that they are enlightened, I'll call it. When they don't know, after a reading with you, do they know? Are they more apt to be open to it, or to, I guess we'll say, to learn from you?
Do you want to know what we have such a, I don't want to use the word oppressive, but I guess it's the best word. When it comes to the spiritual stuff, there is such an oppressive energy around it that a lot of people won't accept it. If I tell people that they are empathic, or if I tell them they are intuitive. Now, I don't work with people. I used to way back in 2012, 2013, 14, and 15. I had clients that I worked with, and I wasn't doing this kind of work at that time. I have a couple friends a woman I met on Facebook of all places, and through communicating with her over time, I would consistently talk to her about how empathic she was, how gifted she was, having never met her, ever. And with her, over time, she eventually began to accept it. But I got to tell you, it took a long time for her to take that information in and own it as hers. Okay. Because again, on Earth, there is a high degree of that stuff isn't true, that stuff isn't real, or being ridiculed for believing it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I come across a lot of people who are stuck in that place, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's going to happen, but it's more, I think, starting to lean the other way, though, now, isn't it? I think with the times.
Yeah, I think so.
Everybody knows. I mean, there are more people who are interested in, are there aliens? Is there afterlife? All that stuff. Mm-hmm. Everything is, a little bit more. I think society is more open to it.
Yeah,
and but it's going in that direction, mm-hmm. At least you think.
For sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because
absolutely.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go.
No, I was going to ask you again. Not again, but do you think that then because of people's emotions as a whole, is that mm-hmm. what brings those things? I guess we'll say bring them out more.
I'm not sure I understand the question.
So all right, so we'll just say, we try to stay off of the politics kind of thing, but, so just the state of the world right now, just how people's emotions are and such like that. Do you think that these emotions, good or bad, just how they're mm-hmm. feeling, the anxiety in some people, would that be a reason, a cause for them to awaken their inner or these experiences or what could potentially have been experienced? Like, oh my God, that happened to me before. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. If you grew up in an ecosystem, so just going back to my own childhood, it's rough. My father had PTSD, and he was a military man. So it was hell, to put it lightly.
Right.
But it has prepared me for this time period completely. It's such that those experiences growing up, I would say that I learned how to reach my mind all the way at home to make sure everything was cool at home before I got there. I learned how to know things because there wasn't enough communication within the household. So the answer to your question is yes. Under this type of pressure, people should ideally be popping awake mm-hmm. all over the place. Mm-hmm. All over the place. Mm-hmm. Which is why it's great that you guys have a podcast talking and normalizing all of these different topics, because you never know when someone's going to drop in and catch some of what you're saying, and they'll be able to identify with it. Mm-hmm. And it will be in a nice, calm, cool, conversational atmosphere, which is what you guys have.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The whole wild thing about all this is all this like stuff that's happening with like disclosure and all that is that like mm-hmm. The whole subject of like telepathy is starting to become part. It is now a part of like the UFO community because you had the famous egg video and they were talking about that group and how they have, I forget what the word they used for psionics, I think people who are telepathic, communicating with aliens, and then you have the telepathy tapes, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a little bit. Mm-hmm. We could talk about stuff like that too, but it's just interesting how like it's all tying together now,
and it's all timely.
Mm-hmm.
Have you all been doing the gateway experience? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, the gateway experience. I was gonna check that. I haven't tried it yet, but that's supposed to like, I know that's supposed to be something that is supposed to like open up telepathic abilities.
What's that? What exactly is that?
It's like a thing you listen to, and it's kind of like meditative, and it's supposed to like help, like open up your like mind.
Okay.
Yeah.
And and just kind of like, just like
It's like a guided meditation, but there's a lot of stuff in it.
Getting one with the universe and getting to the right frequency.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, and it's supposed to like open up your mind like
right.
telepathically, and
right,
stuff like that. So what do you think? Like, do you think this whole like telepathy thing is going to start tying in more and more with this?
I think so. I was just listening to it again because I want to take a lot of notes about it. But they have their own telepathy chat, if that makes any sense.
Yes.
Where
the hill,
they,
right?
Yeah. Where they go and they hang out, and there's thousands of them. So the question that I've been asking, because of the way that I experience reality, I'm in that world where they go hang out.
Mm-hmm.
I exist in it all the time. That's one of the reasons why I'm able to read information the way that I can read it. So when I was in 1992 or 3, I was driving a bus here in Seattle, Washington, for the elderly and disabled. And I picked up a young woman who had not spoken for 9 years. And if any of you guys have heard this particular story, but it still ties into the telepathy tapes.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the young people that I picked up, who hadn't spoken for 9 years, decided to talk one day when I was driving. And she's talking to me, and she's talking to me about me.
Wow.
And she's not supposed to be talking.
Yeah.
She's not supposed to be talking. Not at all. So I'm shocked.
Yeah.
I'm stunned.
Were you the only person on the, or was there other passengers?
There was no other passengers, but the guy who trained me. So the way that this works, if you're familiar with those buses that pick up the elderly and disabled and take them to appointments and whatnot,
right?
Yeah. I got one of those jobs when I first moved to Seattle, and the guy trained me, and we pick her up, we drive her around, and we pick up a whole bunch of other people. Anyway, when I finally done with my training, and she's on my route, so I pick her up, and she's sitting in back, and we get to her house, and she's walking back and forth, as some autistic people do who are nonverbal.
Mm-hmm.
And she blurts out, "You're special." And I'm like, "Is that?" I'm like, "You're not supposed to talk."
Yeah. Wow. That must have been like,
hello.
What's going on here?
She can talk, though.
Yeah, pretty much. And so I'm in shock. We get off the bus, and I walk her to her house.
Mm-hmm.
Open the door, and this is what she says. She says to me, telepathically, guys. She says it telepathically. She says, "Do not bother telling anyone that I can talk, because they're not going to believe you."
Wow.
And so I went and I found the guy who trained me immediately. And I said, you said that she's not supposed to be talking, but she's talking. And he looked at me like I was crazy,
right?
And said she does not talk. And so this is the answer to your question: is the telepathy taking us in it's changing the way that we understand ourselves?
Yeah.
Yes. And here's why. So the reason why she said I was special, I'm not special like, oh, you're special. You don't know. Special because I can hear that in that world. She could see that I could hear the same way that they can in that other realm, the multidimensional world that we live in.
Mm-hmm.
So what she saw was that I was able to see and hear and know stuff just like they could. That's what she meant by others.
Wow.
That's wild.
And so, right. And so being human, you guys are human, right?
Yeah.
You got 2 eyes, you got 2 legs, right?
Uh-huh.
We are the same. So that means a definition that what she was saying, that young lady who saw me, and what the telepathy tapes are saying, is that we're heading in a direction where all of us, depending on our intuitive capacity, will be able to do exactly what they can do. We'll have our own telepathy chat.
Right.
We won't need phones. We'll be able to just chat with each other.
They're saying we're gonna evolve, pretty much.
Yeah. Like I wonder if this is evolution, or is this just an ability that we had and didn't know we had.
Well, they think of how much you're really in touch with your instincts.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As we get older, we get better at it, right? Because you do though eventually. I mean, it's just once when you allow your instincts to kick in, you kind of are more of aware of it. I guess in certain ways you pick up on things. Yeah. But but I think it has to do with inexperience or just.
But do you think it is evolution?
I think so. If she's saying what she's
it's evolution.
From what she's explaining, it sounds to me that it's going to go to the next step. And it's just right now they're still in
we're in the in between phase,
right?
Or the beginning of the in between phase, right? Or
so
what do you think? Well, then think about it this way.
Yeah,
this community they've been able to communicate the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
So if they've been able to communicate this entire time, how many years have autistic folks been around?
Yeah, you're right.
Since the beginning of time? I mean, not autistic, but nonverbal folks. Because it's not just the autistic community that can do this, it's nonverbal.
Yeah.
Right. They're not talking. Right. But if they do, it's, it's not that they can't. They can, but they choose not to. For whatever obviously with autism, it's,
But the wild thing isn't it that supposedly extraterrestrials, they only speak telepathically. I think, right? They don't have verbal. They don't
look like they can
voice
really much.
Yeah, well, not all of them, but most they do communicate telepathically.
Yeah,
most of the time. And in my own experience, all experiences were telepathic, and I've interacted with at least 1, 2, 3, 4 different species.
Yeah, because I was thinking the whole thing is that supposedly, from what I've heard, is telepathic communication, doesn't have to be. It can transfer languages, because it's the intention is absorbed into words.
Yeah.
So I think that's why, you can speak to extraterrestrials is because they project their intentions and they transfer it to words. That's always the intention that I've understood from it.
I kind of look at it. Excuse me.
Sorry.
I kind of look at it from the movie Superman when they have him on the ship and Lois is on there as well, and she's telling him they were in my mind, and they see the one scene with Superman talking to Zod, kind of like that almost is the way I picture it when we talk about this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That's good one. I didn't even think about that. That's good.
Yeah, you do. You communicate whole. So when people communicate with me, and I'm doing readings, or just because for me, it's always on. Right, it's never not on, and so it is whole. I don't know any other way of saying it except it's the whole idea that someone is trying to communicate.
Right.
Okay.
You get all of it.
So now, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say, and the information that you don't need or don't want, you don't get. A lot of people are scared of telepathy because they think, oh my God, my secret. I can assure you, I don't want to know people's secrets. I don't care
right.
at all. Don't give up. I don't care. Because when you communicate this way, communication is instantaneous,
right?
And it's more comfortable, quite frankly. And there's no misinterpretation of what someone means.
Yeah, right. Because there's no tone. There's no tone deafness or anything like that.
Exactly.
Yeah, because is it supposedly you can feel their emotions too when they're expressing something, right? Is it something like that?
Yeah. Just before you guys called, there is about 3:30 actually. There is a light, even now I can feel a light energy. I don't want to call it fluffy because I don't want to.
No, we're not offended. Don't worry about it. We're good.
Right, fluffy in this instance is a good thing, right? So when the energy feels fluffy, it's just a good someone, whoever it is, it's a good solid
a cloud,
good intention there. Yeah, yeah.
Like a fluffy cloud, it's happy. Fluffy.
Yeah, and the energy feels fine and good. Fine meaning like sand fine, if that makes any sense.
Okay, yeah.
Not grainy.
Right.
Fine.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Now,
and energy has.
No, I'm sorry. Energy has what? I'm sorry.
I was going to say the energy has on this level. Energy has. I call it a shear. So when you look at the political environment right now, there have been times when I have written emails to the media and said things like the psychic shear out there is really tough today, meaning that there's a lot of negativity, and the energy thread or stream is very, very negative, and I can feel it like a storm across my space and in my energy. Literally.
Got it. So now you say that you can feel from us that it's a light vibe and, it's comfortable and you're feeling good. When you're talking to people, maybe as far as we are, just that they're not in the same area as you are, can you feel that, like, from everybody?
Oh, definitely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. So it's not just
because
it's
it doesn't
like
matter
us.
who I'm talking to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. If my niece calls, if any family members call, I'll immediately say things like, okay, which person do you want today? Do you want your fear auntie, or do you want your nice fluffy auntie?
Yeah. There you go. Yeah.
Because the two are different.
Right. Definitely. Now, can you turn it off? Or is it just that I know you said it's always on, but because of so many years you being able to do it, have you been able to just like say, all right, you know what, today I need a timeout and I'm just going to turn it off and not, and I have to hear all that?
I do that, but it has only been since January 6th of this year that I've understood that I'm a telepath.
Okay.
That I'm actually a bona fide telepath, and that's one of the reasons why I wouldn't come on the podcast for a little while, was because I had to stabilize myself and this understanding that I am a telepath and I need to take breaks. Can I turn it off? I have had situations where I've really said for specific people, I don't want to hear anything about such and such, and it goes off. I hear nothing about it.
Okay. Now, how do you calm yourself? Because, like you said, now you're learning how, or have learned how to turn it off. Before this, what was your, I don't want to say so much your process, because it's kind of like maybe a little bit personal, but like what would you or could you do for you to center yourself? Because that's a lot of information. That's a lot of emotion. That's that high anxiety level to me, if I understand it correctly.
Oh, definitely. For sure. I pick up on terror attacks and all manner of things that are out there. And so when I was much, much younger, I did 4 silent retreats in 1 year. And that's where you go and there's no talking.
Gotcha.
Wow.
And you are silent for about 4 or 5 days. The longest one I did was a week. And so within a 1 year period of time, I did the 4 silent retreats. And those retreats taught me how to, even if I'm not able to calm myself, and there's a difference between calming myself and then there's the energy that's around me, right?
Okay.
So if I'm picking up on someone who is, I call these our citizens who have been, unfortunately radicalized to take terrible actions. But these citizens have been influenced to do what I call pop off in our ecosystem. And so when I feel someone like that, I'll get a certain word, I get a very, very specific word. The minute I hear it, I'll go into prayer and I'll separate it. I'll make an acknowledgement. Okay, this is not me, this is someone else having a hard time. And
so you're able to tap in and pick up on other people's whatever they're putting out in the universe. They're just putting that out there. So you can pick up whether it's a good
especially if it's someone who's going to try to take someone else's life. I just don't believe that what I call the Holy Spirit put us on earth to come across people like that. And so I have a hardcore, if I hear it, I pray about it, and if I get specific details, which I have in the past, Las Vegas shooting, Texas shooting, a lot of them I picked up on, and I would send that information to the media. So I guess what I'm saying here is that, and I may not be answering your question, so route me back if I'm not. but I've always felt like there was something that we could do, that we could mitigate these things.
Mm-hmm.
That if we have people in our ecosystem who can pick up on these things, i.e., our fellow citizens having a rough go of it, and making a decision, an irrevocable decision, we should be able to do something about it.
Yeah,
Whether it's just, you know what I mean, making us aware. That's why I have an eyes wide open. I call that my eyes wide open segment.
Mm-hmm.
You ever see me say that? That just means you need to be a little bit more aware because someone is having a rough time and they don't know how to deal with their emotions and whatnot. That didn't answer your question, did it?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Because I'm thinking, like you're going to pick up on somebody who's putting out a certain frequency, right? If it's fear, if it's just that they're not, they're just having a hard time of it, or whatever emotions, it might be, emotions, or even happy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you'll know what I'm assuming based on what you're saying is you kind of feel, all right, this is not good. This one needs help, and sometimes you obviously communicate with those who don't actually as well, right? I mean,
yes, I do. But there's only I've learned that prayer is not enough. Like as a society, we actually need to put something in place so that our fellow citizens aren't put into these types of situations where they live, and we have the power to do that. My part is just picking up on it, but I've tested praying on it, and it's never stopped a single one, not a single one. So that tells me that that's not the answer, and that we have other mitigation type things that we can do. Whether it's that I get connected with cops and call cops and say, hey, there's someone in your community who is getting ready to pop off. We just need eyes wide open, type of stuff.
Can you give descriptions?
But in it,
I'm sorry.
I have.
Okay.
Yeah, I have. I've had detailed descriptions. I had one premonition of a guy who went into a school in Georgia, and thank God that's the only one where prayer worked. This guy, and there's a story about him as well. A young guy goes into Georgia school, plans on shooting it up. I have a premonition 3 weeks prior to it of a guy in a government building, and there he is right in front of me, and I'm talking to him, and I'm aware that he plans on going into a government building. I don't know which one, but I'm aware he's planning on going into a government building and taking people's lives. And so I'm talking to him in the premonition. I'm telling him, you have no right to do this. You need to go seek help. Now, for the next 3 weeks after having that premonition, what is happening is I am just about every day, I'm waking up and I'm almost merged. If you've listened to the telepathy tapes, you know that some of these guys end up merging with people.
Yeah.
Unintentionally.
Yeah.
That's what was happening. So that happens with me. I literally end up merging with people, and I can't see myself.
Oh, wow.
So this kid.
Yeah.
So I'll do the quick. So this kid, over the next 2 weeks, I'm waking up every single day, and here's what I'm aware of. I'm aware of a guy, a young man, who needs help. I'm aware that he needs to be put back on his medication. And I'm aware that I'm just aware that he's going to be terrible. And I have a description of him because I saw him in my premonition. So you can imagine my shock when I turn on the TV and see that there's this guy in the school, and when they bring him out, he is the guy that was in my premonition.
Oh, wow.
He didn't shoot the school up. There was a school administrator who was praying the entire time that he was in the school.
That's crazy.
And don't you know that she was praying the exact things that I was praying for this 2 weeks?
Wow.
Yeah.
Now now if we go back to the telepathy tapes, where they have their their hill. What do you call it again? Telepathy hill. Where they go chat. What that experience there tells you that we also have our own chat.
Wow.
And I can break it down a little bit more. So when I had the premonition, I'm in that root system where we all are. And for the next 2 weeks into that root system where we all exist, I'm praying and I am knowing and I am trusting that someone in that man's life is going to help him. He's going to give him a way. It's going to redirect him.
Okay.
That's all I'm knowing.
That's awesome.
And the day of the shooting, this woman is sitting in a closet in the school, and this guy never leaves the first floor. So what I was sort of thinking was that her prayer put up a barrier psychically.
Okay.
So that he wouldn't move beyond what I was talking about before, which is he wasn't put on earth to do this to other people.
Yeah, we're having, you came a little garbled through that last part. Sorry about that.
No, I was just saying, he wasn't put on earth. This kid, he wasn't put on earth to do this.
Right.
It wasn't his purpose in life.
Okay.
And so the Holy Spirit gave me a premonition. I prayed. A woman right there in his own community also prayed and helped him not commit that act.
Wow.
If that makes any sense. That's how I see it anyway.
Yeah.
And you can watch the movie. It's called Safe by Fire, I think it is.
Oh, they made a documentary about it, or
they made a movie about it. Yes, they did.
Wow.
And the woman was going to kill herself. She was going to unalive herself. The woman who ended up praying for him is going to take her life.
Wow. That's pretty interesting stuff,
Yeah. That's wild, man. I mean, and like I said, and I feel for you, like that's got to be so much harder, because you can, catch
up
all
on
these
that
feelings
energy.
and stuff.
Yeah,
that super energy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yes, it is hard. It's easier when I'm around people who not only recognize it, but also understand the value of positive framing, thinking, and whatnot, because we end up lifting each other. That makes sense.
Yeah. No, definitely. Wow. That is awesome.
So yeah, those all that stuff is just so wild with, all this like psychic connections and stuff like that. The telepathy tapes and all that. But I forgot what I was going to say. Something to do with the telepathy. Oh yeah, like do you think that like we're going to start going in a direction now with like where like it's going to start becoming more open? I know we talked about disclosure and stuff like that, but I think do you think people are going to start becoming more open to it as time goes on?
I think so. I think they are working on another the second season, and they plan on including verbal folks, who have experienced telepathy. So I think that as long as these folks keep going and we out here keep talking about it, it can only grow.
Yeah, you're right.
It can only grow. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That is awesome.
I agree with that.
Yeah. I mean,
there's always room to grow, my friend.
I mean, I mean, I still have stuff to talk about myself about stuff because I've had experiences myself. I've talked to you about it before a couple of times. Like me and my wife, she actually like sometimes randomly hears my thoughts. I'll be like, well, she'll be like in another room and she's like, "What'd you say?" And I'll be like, "I didn't say anything."
Right.
So it's pretty wild.
Now, were you in those moments? Were you actually thinking about saying something to her, or were you just thinking out loud?
I was just in like deep thought. It's usually when I'm in like deep thought. Like I'll be just like sitting there watching TV and thinking about something, or you know what I mean? Like that kind of situation.
That is awesome. That's funny, bro. That's a good one. That's great.
Do you guys mind if I ask you guys some questions? No?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just wondering if other guys had experiences as well? Like what brought you guys together to have this podcast? I'm asking for a couple of reasons because when we're done, I'm going to, as you know, I'm going to start talking about you guys. And my goal is to go on other different podcasts and make sure we're just keeping these conversations going. So that we normalize this stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah, I came up with the idea. I actually talked to Kenny one day and said, "Hey, you want to do a podcast?" And he's like, "Yeah." He's like, "What we do?" I said, "What we do now. We just talk about anything." Mm-hmm. And then I say to Tom, I worked with Tom at the time, and then him and I spoke about it, and then we tried it out. Took us a little while to get our feet on the ground. And once we did, we figured it out, and I think we already hit our 100th episode. By the way.
Is it already?
I think soon. We did?
Yeah, I got the alert from Buzzsprout.
We were going to do a special episode.
Yeah, this is the special episode.
But yeah, then once we did it, but the one thing we did, and I think most fans know this, is that we wanted to stay away. We wanted to talk about anything except for the two most polarized things that shouldn't be spoken about because we hear too much about it already. And I'm not going to say what it is, but you already know what I'm talking about. Anyway.
I think I do.
Yeah.
Anyway, we loved having you on. Thank you so much for being our guest. We appreciate it.
Yep. But do not hang up.
Yeah, because we're out of time now. So we usually do our episode for 45 minutes. So.
Okay.
Yep. So don't hang up.
But don't hang up. We're just going to do the closing, and we'll just stay on, and then we'll.
Yep.
Okay.
So with that, appreciate you being on. Thank you everybody for listening. I hope you enjoyed this episode because this was groovy for us. So love, peace, and hair grease.
Live long and prosper.
And go vegan.
Hello.